Let's get out of here. I always feel like I'm being watched. Ever since Larry lingers around, I always feel like I'm being watched at work. I have this weird feeling with some of the people here. I don't know if you guys ever experienced this, but if you know what's going on, let me know. The psychology with it, it's always interesting. Or if it's happened to you, it's this weird feeling where when you're around people you just met or don't know very well, like coworkers and managers, and all of a sudden one of them, very few, you just feel like this weird connection to them, like you knew them before in a different life, or you've seen them before, or you used to know each other. It's this weird feeling of familiarity towards them, and that's what I have with two people from my job. I'm running away. There's somebody behind me. I've got to get out of here. I'm going straight to Dunkin'. I'm so happy. I love my routine going to work, especially when I'm in the flow of work. I get nervous, but once everything's settled down, I like doing it. It brings this big peace in me. Like, I remember I was new to this job and I was in this one spot where I'd hide from this manager that freaked me out a little bit. And I was putting shit away, and I remember thinking, like, I can't wait till I'm comfortable here and I'm not scared of anything. And then now I'm there and I'm like, I'm here. I'm not scared of, well, I am scared of a few things, but I really like routine. Just have severe anxiety. And I've asked my therapist, she says everything I describe is anxiety. She thinks I have panic disorder. I show signs of that, and I guess it makes sense because I've never not been anxious. Since the moment I remember having a conscience, I've always been an anxious person. Always. I remember, like, do you guys remember when you guys developed consciousness? Because I kind of do. I feel like once I got it, all I got was a strong, extreme amount of stress. I didn't know it was anxiety and stress, but now I know for sure it was that, because it was this huge fear of just anything, no matter how minor, going wrong. And it's never not been there. I think maybe when I'm alone, but even then, it's like, even when I'm alone, I'm constantly waiting, like, when is it going to be the day where I get horrible news that something happened to somebody or something, you know what I mean? Because even when I'm relaxing at home and everything's peaceful, it's like, not everybody that I care about is okay. And sometimes I'll even think about, right now, I can be calm talking to you guys, we can all be okay, but there's somebody out there wanting help, needing help, going through something extremely traumatic, and we're not doing anything. We're just sitting around. Or like, oh, you're pessimistic. But it's like, I can't help but worry for the future, and it's really annoying, because I remember a teacher telling me, don't worry so many times for something that hasn't happened. Worry when the moment hits. But the strange thing is, that I've noticed is, if I worry in anticipation for what's about to happen, what could go wrong, when it does happen, I am the most calm, because I already worried about it. You know what I mean? If I do freak out about it, it's because I wasn't anticipating it. That's why I need to worry about things. I'm just justifying my anxiety at this point. We're best friends now. I don't need Anna, dude. Or Mia. I have anxiety. What's her name? Annie? All these girl names. That's so misogynistic of us. We're giving, well, Ed is a boy, so I guess it's fair enough. I don't know, but yeah, we're talking about calorie counting, as you already know by the title. If you want to stay after class to discuss why I don't have a crush on Sandman, who I used to talk about back in the day, then you can stay. I'm just kidding, not class. You can stay on the line. What am I, a teacher? What am I teaching? How to not freaking starve. Okay, so I used to be obsessive with calorie counting, just like a lot of us were. And the way you get out of it is literally the way you got into it. I feel like you can reverse your way out of it. Now, if you're too far into it, I would suggest trying, if you dare, to quit cold turkey, because that's what I did with binging and purging, because I just could not ease myself out of it. And you know how Ed gives you rules where it's like, oh, you can't eat more than this, or you can't do more than this. You're gonna do the opposite. That's gonna go against his rules slowly. Now, if you can do it cold turkey, this is a different route, and we can talk about this in a different call, because right now we're going to talk about calorie counting, and how I did it was slowly, because it wasn't extreme for me. Like, I didn't do it with everything, because eventually you kind of get good at, like, estimating like the amount for all the foods. So what I started off was I wanted to get fit, and I downloaded this app that one of my brothers had mentioned, the Fitness Pal. By the way, now it sucks. I think it's called the Fitness Pal app, but it sucks now and it always wants to charge you for money. So be careful, because I try to help my mom getting it on her phone because she wanted to eat healthier. She doesn't have an obsessive personality. So I knew it was an unhealthy, because like I feel like a lot of us do, when we do something, we tend to do it very extreme. It's not a little dab into it, it's a whole jump into it, you know? So that's why I try to get it for my mom, but it just kept trying to like make you buy more, like get you to buy it. So it kind of sucks now, which is good for us, because if you use it now, you can't really, because it's stupid. So I kept scanning my food into the app when it was free completely, and all the good healthy things, it turns green. So I would just eat anything that turned green on the app. Everything that did not turn green, I wouldn't eat it. And eventually I got really strict about it, to the point where if it was green but it had a little too many calories for me, because you can set on the app, you could set the calories amount, I think, I would not eat it. And it got really extreme, and then I would start to scan stuff, and even the actual app told me that it was not good what I was doing. Like I was not eating what I was supposed to be eating to stay fit, and that's why I eventually could not do workouts, because I got too weak, which was really stupid, because it just, you know, you start to lose muscle and your metabolism goes to shit. So I would search up the calories to everything I was going to eat, look at the back of everything that I considered eating, and it was just stupid, because eventually, like, I knew, oh, that's 90 calories. Or I remember I was watching this show with my ex where it's like they were going to eat, like, these ladies were trying to lose weight, because we all watch these shows, you know, to like, what is it called? Kind of like Feed Our Ed. I would watch My 500-Pound Life and stuff. And one of them was these two twins. I forgot their names, but they were trying to lose weight, and they were trying to do this thing where it's like they guess the calories of foods they would usually eat. And I was like, when they showed a food, I was like, that's 350. And they did not guess close to it, but then the guy that says the answer, the like little voice thingy, was like, it's 350. And my ex was like, how'd you know that? And it's like, because my brain, okay, it's stupid. And I don't even like math. Like, I hate numbers, they all make me nervous and shit. So that's when I knew, I'm like, damn, this is not a good thing. And started out like I wasn't trying to get myself sick or anything, and it, like, I started off like, you know, we all start off with our own reasons behind it. But even if you start off trying to be like sick, or, you know, like, because there was a girl who would say like, I wish I had an Ed. She said it to her other friend, and the fact that you're looking for stuff like that, that means you have an issue. You know, you're sick enough. I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're sick enough, because you're trying to find a reason to, you're already sick. So it gets overboard, and then I kind of went back, like I couldn't stop looking at the back of the packages, and so I'm like, what if I just don't? Like, that was a rule I made against Ed, because I like to imagine, you know how you have like the devil on your shoulder and then the angel on your shoulder? Ed is the devil on your shoulder, and then you at your highest, best potential, or the child version of yourself, the most innocent, is on your good side. And they're watching you. And they're both watching you, feeding you little, like, ideas and stuff. And they're fighting for who you follow. And when you look at the calories, when you restrict, when you binge and purge, you're feeding Ed, the devil on your shoulder, and you're disappointing yourself on their shoulder. And she's watching you, or they're watching you fail them over and over again. And you know, when somebody hurts our feelings, when somebody disappoints us, when somebody does us wrong, we're like, how could they have done this to us? But how could we do it to ourselves? You know, we're doing it to ourselves all the time. And again, the voice of reason you listen to the most will get louder and stronger. So if you start to listen to that version of yourself, the highest potential, or your inner child, they will get stronger and they will be happier. And Ed will get lower, his voice will get lower, his influence on you will lessen. So I stopped, I would look at like a food I wanted to eat, and as soon as I'm like, I kind of want to eat that, I would do it because I already wanted to eat it. So it's like, why not just eat it, not overthink it, you know? Another thing is like, it's good to use some of your weak habits to help you. You know what I mean? Like switch things around or whatever. Like, for example, my anxiety helps me anticipate what I need to do before it happens, and I end up doing the opposite of procrastination. So I overdo everything ahead of schedule so I don't have to worry about it later on with everything. So that's how anxiety has helped me, because it's my weakness and I knew that. I turned it into a strength. And that's what I did with my how I am as a person. So find your weakness and try to turn it into a strength to help you get out of this situation, or kind of build yourself stronger to not let Ed win, basically. So for me, for example, it's guilt. I have a lot of self guilt. I feel like everything ends up being my fault eventually, and it's not a healthy mindset, but I know I have it. Like, I just have this guilt, like, that it's my fault, everything's my fault. And I think it comes from a religious background, but I don't know. So I use guilt. I know guilt gets to me, you know? So I use, every time I see the food and I'm like, I kind of want to see how many calories it is to start feeding my head, I think that food, I just hurt that food's feeling, you know. So I'm hurting. I'm like using guilt. I'm like gaslighting myself. Like, dude, you just hurt the feelings of that food because you looking at its numbers. It's like you're just weighing its value based on if it's good enough for you, when it really is. Like a cookie, that cookie has a big heart. It's so dumb, but it works. It works for me because like I feel so bad, and also like food that gets left behind and nobody wants to eat it. I'm like, oh, I feel so bad. I just imagine the food being like, dude, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna rot, and I'm never gonna be like useful. I'm not delicious to anybody. And I'm like, damn, that's so sad. So like, I'll eat it because that's like my weakness, you know. And sometimes I'll be questionable food, like it's a little too late to eat it, and I'm just like, okay, I'll cut you a deal. I'll eat you right now if you promise you won't hurt me, because you're, you know, like it's getting to that questionable, and it never has, dude. The food has never hurt me. I've never gotten food poisoning that I know of. I've gotten severe diarrhea from like really spicy foods because my mom likes to try to poison us with the food she cooks, which is her love language, and I'm I like that. You know, I like that she loves us enough to test our might with the food she makes. And every time I eat it, you know, unless I have to do something the next day, because I'm not about to have, you know, spicy diarrhea at work. Yeah, that's kind of how I stopped doing like the calorie counting, deleted the app, kind of like reverse the way you did it and slowly ease out of it. But if you think you can handle cold turkey, oh my god, somebody's following me. If you think you can handle cold turkey quitting, do it. Like I did that with binging and purging, and yes, you're like more likely to have a relapse because that's just normal. We like routine, you know, we get used to things even if they're harmful. We get familiar with them and we think they're our safe in grace, or whatever you want to call it. We start to do it, or we crave doing it. But just like we got into the habit of self-destruction, we can get into the habit of self-construction, building yourself, basically listening to that other side of you, the side that we've been neglecting. And you know, the crazy part is, after trying to get better and listen to my inner child, or my like reach my highest potential, I've noticed that I don't like the same people, like hanging around the same people I used to like. And I also can't imagine myself being around these type of people that I used to find codependency towards, you know. And that brings us to like, you know, talking about Sandman. So if you don't know, Sandman was my crush from work that I mistakenly developed. And oh yeah, by the way, this is the end of the conversation with calorie counting. Please let me know like what else you want us to talk about with the whole Ed thing. That's again, I'm not like I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I'm kind of just winging recovery because I live in the US. I don't have healthcare. I can't like go into a program. You know what I mean? I can barely like I have a therapist, but that's basically it. So and I'm an adult, so it kind of feels awkward to be like, you know, ask for help when it's like that. There's just a whole another awkward part of having Ed when you're an adult or dealing with Ed. Okay, so Sandman, I had developed a crush on him because I was a stupid idiot. I don't know what. I think I liked him because he was a guy that treated me the best out of any guy I've ever like befriended. And that's not saying a lot because he doesn't even do bare minimum as a friend. And again, like I don't date like right away. Like I don't usually date people right away, or like usually I befriend them and then we develop feelings or whatever, you know, all that cheesy shit. So we became friends first. By the way, if you're a young girl, even a young guy, whoever, if you're younger than me, chances are like this hopefully will serve as some sort of advice. Do not do not jump into dating a crush. Befriend them first or try to get to know them first a little more because I am so thankful. Me and Sandman never got into a relationship and we never will. Over my dead body. Not even over my dead body. Like, I don't even see myself dating anybody anymore because, dude, once you realize that, like, everybody is shit, you really don't want to. And, like, being somebody that was so codependent on people, I realized that it's, like, a waste of my time. Yes, a part of me craves, like, relationships and, like, friendships and stuff, but why have it from somebody that's, like, you know, giving you nothing, basically. So that's just FYI. Like, do not start dating somebody. Crushes are like literally a lack of information. You hear it everywhere. It's a lack of information. Take that very seriously. You don't know this person. You're making them up in your head. You're obsessing over them. And you're thinking that they're all this cool shit. No, you know, all that cool shit that you think of, that's all coming from your imagination. You're the cool one. You made them cool and you barely know them. And yes, I'm projecting, but hey, if this makes sense, it's for a reason. This is your sign that your crush ain't shit. In fact, don't ever talk to them again. Block them. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, wait, let me just order.
Welcome to Dunkin'. Will you be using the mobile app today?
No. Okay, so what I was telling you guys is like, Sandman is a total loser, dude. He has major incel vibes. And here's the thing, it's like, when you're talking to your crush, and something they did or said kind of gives you this weird feeling in your gut, like in your stomach, like it's just like not right. Trust that feeling. I had that so many times with Sandman that I just kind of ignored myself. This is why it's so important to trust yourself. In the beginning, I like you know, first impressions when you first develop like a crush on, I did not have that for Sandman at all. In fact, he repulsed me. Like, I was disgusted and I should have trusted that because that was my initial thought of him. Who would have thought that that would be my last thought of him? Like, I should have trusted myself more than anything because your brain will give you like, I honestly, like, when you're bored, it's dangerous because you start to romanticize dumb shit, you know? So he was lingering around me and like I did not talk to anybody at work. In fact, like when we became friends, he told me that I looked very unapproachable and very unfriendly. People would say that I just looked like very like I not lonely, but I wanted to be alone, which was perfectly fine with me. And I also kind of talked to the guy everybody didn't like. So he was very friendly with everybody. I saw him hanging around with everybody, and that I remember telling him too, like, a friend to all is a friend to none, which I still believe. I think like if you act like you're everybody's friend, you're not really anybody's friend. And I told him that because he was trying to be everybody's friend. It was just like the only person he didn't want to talk to was George, who was the guy that I was hanging around with because nobody liked George, and I like that about George because I'm like, you know what? I like that people don't like you. That means that people stay away from me because they don't like you and you've been misunderstood. Sandman stayed away from George, and there was a lot of gossip between that, which I didn't give a shit about. I thought that was really weird because he hung around really toxic old men that sexualized young women, which is like, why are you mad at George? Because, okay, so nobody liked George because he was very confrontational, which I respected because I am also very confrontational, but I am confrontational in a way where it's like not allowed. Like I could get fired the way I argue with people. George was very professional. Like he did it the right way. Like he knew the rules, and he knew the rules better than most managers did, if all of them. So everybody was kind of scared of him, which is perfect because I had a strong ally. Anyways, and I didn't even know that before we became friends, so I wasn't like using him for that information. In fact, I should have used him because I fight like an idiot basically. Anyways, so he was afraid of George because he was afraid he would get like reported or whatever, some coward shit. So in the beginning, that was already a little weird. It's like, how come you talk to this stupid old man that talks like disgusting shit about women, but you have an issue with George just because he's confrontational? Like that already like kind of annoyed me. He constantly like he started coming up to me and talking to me, but it was always about other people. Like he would always come and tell me like the rumors of other people and shit, and that annoyed me. Like that's why I was repulsed by him. I was like, why are you telling me like other people's business? Like I don't care. Like yet again, I don't judge people. If you like to gossip and talk about things that happening, I get it. Like that's your deal. But I don't, if I don't know you, why are you doing that? That means you go to everybody. Like if you found out something serious about me, you would talk to strangers about my personal business. You know what I mean? Like if my friend, like especially when it's friends, like if you come talk to me about like, oh my god, the new manager came in today, like he's really strict, okay, that makes sense. But if we don't know each other and you're telling me about another coworker who like left because they were stealing or I don't know, some random shit, it's like that's kind of annoying because it's like that doesn't make me trust you. So that was already like a red flag that I felt in my gut. But like I should have just ignored him completely. And then the next thing is like I made a friend. Like I wanted to be friends with this girl that I mentioned in my other videos named Lily. I wanted to be her friend really badly because she was my age too, but she had a big crush on Sandman. And I didn't have a big crush on Sandman at all. In fact, he disgusted me because of the reasons I listed. But he was willing to help me all the time, like with anything. And every time I would like hide away and like I would put somewhere that I didn't understand how to work because I wasn't trained. I was just thrown out on the floor because they really needed people. So I was never trained, and I would just hide things or tell him how to do it, and he would just teach me right away happily. Lily liked him, and I tried to stay away from him because Lily liked him. But as soon as Lily saw that me and him were friends, she kind of started ignoring me. Like we were becoming friends, but she started ignoring me, especially after there was a new girl that um she told she literally told everybody she had a crush on Sandman. Like it was almost like she was calling dibs, which I understood. But then she did not want to talk to me and became friends with the other girls. We were friends. I couldn't break that, that loyalty where it's like I couldn't go after him because you called dibs first, basically. I don't know if this is making any sense, but she did not want to be my friend. She barely talked to me, and she kind of like got annoyed that again, I was not going after Sandman. I was very careful not to be around him and move around him. But he kept like following me around and shit because he was afraid of her because he knew she had a crush on him. Anyways, I started like Sandman because he would help me with shit, and I would have a lot of panic at work. I would literally cry and have panic attacks driving to work because I remember I would drive, put my makeup on very thick. It was waterproof, very thick because I knew I'd cry and I didn't want anybody to know because my eyes get swollen. And just having him around made me feel a little better, but I started to realize that he was full of shit. For example, we were driving around at night because we like to do that. We would drive around at night on our day off, and we would stop at a gas station and get a bunch of food and then keep driving around. And every time we did that, he would always want to use my car never his, and I would always have to pay for gas, and that was just a little annoying because it's like it's kind of expensive to be just driving around, you know what I mean? So I was just kind of tired of this shit. Like, guys I've dated, all the guys I've dated have been very, very broke. And the thing is, I'm broke too. I can understand being broke, but the thing is, it's like, why do you expect me to pay for everything when you can't even afford it? You know what I mean? So that was kind of annoying. The thing that really bothered me, and that's when I like completely lost feelings and did not want to be around him, is when I asked him, like, we were driving around at night and I asked him like a serious question. I was just like, hey, can I ask you something? You're completely honest with me. And he's like, yeah, sure, what is it? And I said, if Lily, she had a crush on him, Lily, and she made it obvious. Like, I never told Sandman that I liked him ever. I never will, because I wasn't sure, and now I'm glad I never did. So I was like, if Lily was thin, like if she was skinny, because Lily was a little bit like, she was overweight, but she was still beautiful. Like, I didn't see why that made a big difference, but I wanted to see if what he would say. So I'm like, it was skinny, would you have dated her or gave her a chance to be with her? And he said yes. He said yes. So it wasn't because of chemistry. It wasn't because they didn't talk about anything. They talked a lot. They were good friends. It was just because she was overweight. And that really pissed me off, because as somebody with an ed, like, in the way society is and how it is for women, it really pissed me off. Like, I did not want to, I couldn't even stand to look at him. Lily is very beautiful. Like, she has a very nice sense of style. Like, I even would have preferred to date her over anybody else in that place, honestly, because everybody else is trash. And it just really pissed me off. Like, I'm like, what am I doing with this piece of shit? Like, if you, the only reason you won't date somebody is because they're overweight or they're not thin, you're a piece of shit. Like, honestly, you really are. Like, I cannot justify it. Like, I cannot. And the worst part is, before, he wouldn't answer, so I kept telling him, like, I'm not gonna say it, like, I won't judge you for the answer. No, I'm judging him. Like, the only reason I said is because I wanted to know what kind of a person he was, and he's a piece of shit. And mind you, Lily wasn't working with us anymore. She wasn't part of like work life at all. And I would have never told her that, because that's just super, like, that's just messed up. But me knowing that really helped me realize that this piece of shit is not worth it. And the thing is, the worst part is, he thinks he's a good person still. After all, like, after the way he was with the little rumors and shit, he thinks he's a good person. Okay, so that kind of did it for me. I was not into him anymore. I was disgusted. And there's a lot of guys like that. And that's the thing. It's like, when you start to heal, you start to realize men that think that way are pieces of shit. And the worst part is, when they gain weight, they expect you to stay with them. Gaining weight and changing how you look is part of aging, part of life. You won't always be the best, most good looking. Overweight does not make you less attractive, at least not for me. Like, I honestly find men that are, like, not perfectly, super, I prefer somebody that's overweight over somebody that's super fit, because I just feel like, hey, we can go out to eat, we can have a good time, you won't be super strict. And I always get mind blown that they're not. They really aren't like that. A lot of them are still pretty picky, guys are. And for example, Sandman is not fit. He's not skinny, but he's not super fit. Like, he's not fit. He's skinny fat, which is not a bad thing, but it's like, you're not perfect. Why do you expect this perfectness with everybody? I guess it would make more sense if he was super fit and he had a very fit lifestyle, then it like makes sense. But even then, it's just bullshit. Like, it really is. It really bothered me. Anyways, and he keeps doing this with other people. Like, he'll bring up like people's like body types, and it grosses me out, because he's like a little weasel, basically. A little weasel. He's so disgusting to me now. I'm repulsed by that answer, and I just keep, like, I keep thinking about him, like, that's so bullshit. Like, after all the suffering I went through with like my exes, one of my exes was very thought that I would gain weight because I love food. He thought I'd gain weight, and he would stop like his family from giving me food at like parties and gatherings, and he just kept like stop, like he would like put his hand out like that. And it was just bullshit, because it's like, why do you think you have the right to judge somebody based on how they look? That just really weirds me out. Like, that just really affected me. Anyways, so Sandman was like that. He was a piece of shit, superficial asshole who doesn't, mind you, he's not attractive. Like, he's not an attractive guy. And it didn't matter. Like, I wasn't judging him based on that, but the fact that, like, if you're gonna point fingers at people's imperfections or what you think is imperfect, even though it's perfectly normal, and it's not even like, I kind of find it like, I thought she was really cute. I'm not bi, but I honestly thought she was really cute. Another thing was he acting very entitled with my time. Like, he would, every time I didn't talk to him during our break, maybe I should shut this. Every time I didn't talk to him during our break time, I could see him getting angry. He like that. Like, it was so disgusting. So I started to make comments like, you know what? I like that. See, this is why we get along, because you're not like some guys that feel entitled to all my attention all the time. And then he stopped because he's like, oh, wait, I am, but she doesn't realize it. No, dude, I know. I'm just calling you out without calling you out because I know you're a little bitch and you can't handle it. So that's what I started doing. But he will not, like, I don't go to break with him. Like, I just go and sit in this spot and he just comes around, you know? And in lunchtime, he'll come find me. And it's like so annoying. It's suffocating. Even today, like, I purposely put my shit away late because I want everybody to leave so I can leave, like, with nobody around. And then I saw him going through and I'm like, okay, he's done. He put all his shit away. He's headed, like, to his car. And I start going with my shit to go throw it away, like my garbage, and I start heading towards the, like, oh, the warehouse spot where you throw everything away. And he comes over to block my path. And I'm just like, dude, ew. So yeah, there's just so many little things too that he would do. Like, for example, I mentioned the big things, but the little thing he still does is he does a baby voice with me, and it grosses me out so bad. Like, it's whiny and disgusting, and it, oh my god, I cringe a lot with him. And in his head, he thinks he's cute. It's so disgusting. I know it because one time I wanted to go get cat food, and when I was walking past this area at work, there was magazines. That's how I knew I needed to get cat food, because there was, like, animal um in the magazine of the warehouse part. There was pictures of animals, and there was a little rat thing, and I said, that's you, because he's a weasel. Like, he's a little rat with his little hands like this. It's so disgusting. And he was like, I thought I was cuter than that. And that grossed me. I'm like, dude, I'm literally nauseous. Like, you really should look in the mirror, because the fact that he's out there pointing people's flaws and how ugly people are, it's like, you're ugly. You're ugly because I see you for who you really are. And that was my initial reaction of him. And now it's like, literally, sometimes I feel like people look the way they really are inside, because he's just a piece of shit. Like, oh my god. I guess it's the way you see people that they become who, you see them as, but it's like, oh my god, he's just this little rat talking shit about people, and it pisses me off, because it would make sense. Like, there's this older guy who kind of acts like him, but like an older version of him, and I wasn't he's much way like he's like a better version of this stupid piece of shit. Okay. He comes around and he'll tell me information from, like, our warehouse, because I don't go to the meetings. I miss all the meetings, or I try to, because they make me nervous. And he'll be like, oh, this manager, like, that's how I found out Lori left, because he was like, Lori left. And I'm like, see, that's useful because we're under their management, so it makes sense. But if he came over to me and told me Larry is dating blah, 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 that's disgusting. That's what the weasel would do. Freaking Sandman. His new name is Weasel, by the way. He's a freaking weasel. He has some incel tendencies. The only reason he's not straight up an incel is because he's too, like, cowardly to admit it. Because he has a lot of that. He's very cowardly. He quiets down. And yeah, he would tell me, like, oh, did you see Lily? Like, before, when Lily tried to be with him, he didn't want to date her. Some other guys started talking to her, and he'd be like, Lily and this guy are dating. Like, they saw them in the coolers. Like, that's none of your damn business. Like, why are you talking about that? Like, it just really pisses me off. I don't know. But here I am doing the same thing with you guys. Basically, I'm trying to explain to you guys why I find him so disgusting and how I regret ever having a crush on him ever. Like, I'm disgusted. And every time I even, like, think, like, ugh, I find that so gross. There's this other guy who I find attractive, who's actually, like, what I consider a real man, because I never see him talking about anybody else. He always minds his business. That's literally like the only reason, because he minds his business, never like expects and acts entitled to anybody's attention. Because that shit really pisses me off. But I don't have like a big crush on him. Like if he dies, I wouldn't cry. You know what I mean? Like I didn't imagine anything crazy. Like oh my god, one day. No, I'm just kind of tired of all that shit. It's boring not having a crush, but it's so much more freeing because you see the world for how it really is. I'm not wearing no rose colored glasses. It's just a waste of my time. And I hope you guys, if anything, if you take anything from this conversation, at least this part of the conversation, is question the person you like and listen to your body. If you have that weird feeling in your stomach with something they said or did, trust it, because it will come back to bite you if you don't realize it before it's too late. I'm glad I realized it before it was too late and I got into a relationship, because he disgusts me so much. It wouldn't have lasted at all because he grosses me out so much. And I regret ever liking him. It was a big mistake, but at least I didn't, end up with him and regretted my entire life, because some people get into relationships with pieces of shit like that, and he's not even the worst out there. Like there are way worse out there. So watch out, girls, ladies, and people who listen to me or care what I say. That's everything I have to say. Let me know what you guys think of that incel Sandman. Bet you didn't see that coming, because I didn't see it coming either. And it sucks because the flags were there, but when you wear those rose-colored glasses, everything looks. You hear it all the time. Everything, all the red flags look like little red hearts that you're like, oh no, I don't know what it is. Oh, freaking stupid. Anyways, see you next time.